Angela Lerro, hello.
Hello, my dear Emily. I'm so happy to be with you today.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy. Like to say that you are family is like a laughable understatement. Like whenever I have something wrong emotionally, physically, I call you first. Like I call you before I call the ER. So it's like you're my my cousin or sister or something who's actually like a doctor. Like I know that no matter what it is, if it's physical, if it's emotional, if it's spiritual, like Angela's gonna have an answer.
I try anyways, and if I don't have the answer, Spirit does.
Exactly. You're like my hotline. I love it.
Well, I feel the same way about you. Whenever I'm going through anything, I know that I can call you, and I know that you're always there to support me, to love me, to lend advice, to give me the same energy and love and support that I give you. I mean, we have such a beautiful bond, and I think that's also just part of who we are as people. I mean, we also are both Aquarian, so it's like, who can water each other more, you know? We're the water bearers, even though we're an air sign, but it's like, I'll water you. No, I'll water you. And it just
Exactly.
goes back and forth, and it's just so beautiful.
Well, and it's such an honor because and we've had this conversation behind closed doors that we are the ones that pour into others. And so what you have taught me is how to receive. And what I think I have taught you is how to receive. And to be able to be matched is really another layer of healing for me.
Same here. I think we both being like having such a background in giving, it's really hard to find someone that you trust enough to receive from.
Mm.
And it sounds so funny, but like, isn't that part of what healing is learning how to trust to receive, to learn that your needs are never too much to be asked for when you need support. Like, I think for me and maybe you too, that was, part of my journey in healing has been to learn that I'm enough to
Mm.
ask for support.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think uh, I don't know, definitely both of us have been minimized, have been overlooked, and now I'm like, I wish somebody would.
Yeah.
I wish somebody would underestimate Angela Lero. Like, I wish they would. Like, it literally like cracks me up if anybody were to just like overlook you. Um, because of the powerhouse that you are. You come in a tiny stature, but you come with a mighty entourage.
That entourage is unseen, but it sure is felt.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. So I just want to show really quick to start off with where people where we met. You and I met in the Tennessee Smoky Mountains at Meatstock 2024.
Yeah.
Um, and that was incredible just because I didn't feel like I met you in 2024. I feel like I remembered you in
Yeah.
2024. Like
Yes.
it was crazy the connection that we had. And then now, fast forward, we got to see each other again 2025 and then 2026. Baby girl, look at all these speakers, and my girl is right here, front and center. Like, I am so proud of you that they are recognizing not only your story, but they're recognizing your power to help others. So tell me what that has been like, being in that community.
Thank you so much. Um, wow. I have so much to say, and I'm going to, I guess, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't think anybody chooses this.
No.
You know, I was quite happy doing I mean, it was my dream to be in the fashion industry. And, I went to fashion school. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 18, and I'm going to be in fashion, and I'm going to rule the world in the fashion marketing, fashion PR world, personal styling. Like that was what I always dreamed of. I mean, since I was 4. And it was my passion, and I found the best school I could go to. I aside from FIT or Parsons or anything like that, because my mom particularly was afraid of me moving to New York City at 18. Yet, even though I would have been closer, she just felt I would, even though California was further away, because I'm from Pennsylvania. She was like, yeah, but I trust the world in Los Angeles more than I trust the world in New York City. But that was in 2003. So a lot has changed.
A lot.
Changed since then. But, I agree because if I did not come to LA, I don't think I would have been able to be the person that I am today.
Mm. It
And
was meant to be.
it was absolutely meant to be because I have a saying that I was born in Pennsylvania, but I was raised in LA.
Mm.
As I mean, I only lived in Pennsylvania until I was 18, and we think we're adults when we're 18. Well, then I moved to LA and I realized how much of a baby I really was. And I had a lot to grow up. I had a lot of growing up I had to do. And I did that here. And I found the most incredible people to help me grow. And one of my biggest teachers, though, I will say throughout my entire life, from the time I was basically born until today, has been illness,
Yep.
mysterious illness, chronic illnesses, chronic diseases that I never knew how to root cause. I just thought that I was just one of those, weird girls that should live in a bubble because anything that could happen to me, whether it's a concussion or, some weird accident, like that was me on top of, all these other like chronic strep throat, chronic sinus infections, chronic hormonal issues, chronic fatigue. I mean, I don't even sometimes know how I graduated high school because I looked like just when you look at like how many missed days of school you have, I'd have like 30 missed days of school a year and maybe 30 late days because I was just too fatigued to get up. So I would just show up late. Even I was, and my mom, she couldn't miss that much work. So like my best friend, who's still my best friend, she's from Pennsylvania. She would take off school just to take care of me
Oh.
because I needed somebody to take care of me. If my grandmother couldn't do it, or my mom's like, I can't leave you by yourself, so my best friend would come over and
Oh.
her her parents would drop her off. So it wasn't even like they knew that she was skipping school to take care of me. So, I mean, so when I say chronic illness was really like the majority of my life, it really was. But at the same time, because I had to learn it so early on, it just became a part of my life like it was nothing, if that
Mm.
makes sense too. I called myself like the health, like when I look back, it was like I was the healthiest sick kid because when I was good, I was great, and I would live life. But then, I'd be like, then I'd be down for the count for 2 weeks and then I'd get better and the cycle continues. So, I learned how to also push myself through those difficult times
Mm,
because I wanted to do the thing or go to the place or, because what teenager wants to miss out on something. So, but because I did that, I became very disconnected from my body.
mm,
And I think that was another one of my greatest teachers because here I lived a very, I was always wanting a new adventure. I was always seeking some type of experience. I mean, that's why I wanted to move to Los Angeles I was from the smallest town and like one of the smallest towns in Pennsylvania, I lived across the street from a cornfield. Let's just call it what it is. And I lived in a mountain in the country in the middle of nowhere. And I'm over here. I'm going to move to Los Angeles. And everybody's like, what? You of all people. But I always bet on myself
mm,
regardless. And I never gave up on my dreams, regardless of what I was experiencing. And, and that was like one of the most beautiful journeys was moving out here, getting to do what I loved. But the unfortunate thing is that even though I moved from Pennsylvania to California, my chronic illnesses never stopped.
mm.
So, unfortunately, let's just fast forward to 2013, so 10 years. So I moved out here in 2003. And 2011, 2000, end of 2011, throughout 2012, I started noticing some health flare-ups, but I can't even really give you a diagnosis of what they were. It was just weird things happening in my body again. And I went and saw, every single doctor. I changed hospitals. I did everything and nobody could figure out what was wrong. Eventually, I saw a GI doctor and they diagnosed me with this rare esophageal disease called eosinophilic esophagitis and then like irritable bowel syndrome. And I mean, and eosinophilic esophagitis is just basically like it's an autoimmune condition from having like delayed allergic reactions in your throat. And then when I would eat, my food would get impacted because it would be so swollen. So it was like having these mini like allergic reactions that would just make my throat um, instead of swelling like a typical reaction, it would just swell enough so that my food would get stuck and I would have to
Mm,
purge to get it out or just sit there and meditate and calm myself down so that it would just pass through. You
mm,
never knew what you were gonna get though. But I had that since childhood, but it finally reared its head to be really ugly in when I was around 27, 28. And it came with some complications. But the biggest complication because I got that diagnosis in December 2012. I don't really talk about it much.
mm.
Um, but the biggest diagnosis was 4 months later that I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And it
And
was
how old were you?
28.
You were a baby.
Yeah, so the diagnosis with the eosinophilic esophagitis came in December 2012, and I turned 28 that January of 2013.
Mm,
And it was the craziest time because, I had spent basically 2011 to 2012 trying to figure out what was going on. They were doing blood tests. I went to see every single type of doctor except an oncologist because, nobody thought anything that I was going through was cancerous. And given my numbers, my blood work was all normal. So there was no reason to think that there was any type of cancer in my body.
Mm.
And so I find with Western medicine is once you get one diagnosis, everything that you experience goes under that one diagnosis until they can find another diagnosis. But most of the time, once they find a diagnosis, especially if they've been searching long enough, they just want to say, oh, well, it's part of that. Oh, well, you have autoimmune conditions. It's that, it's that, it's that. So I had to learn early on that I was going to have to be my own advocate. And that was something that even though I grew up with chronic illnesses with my family and with my, like, we never were actual advocates. We were just a family that listened to their doctors. If you told us to do it, we would do it. If we needed to take a prescription, I'll take it. I was more of a follower rather
Mm.
than a leader in that situation.
You are obedient.
I was very obedient. That's an even better word. Um, but we also didn't know what we didn't know in the 90s either. So there, and being in a small town, there's not a lot of resources. Holistic medicine wasn't even a thing where I grew up. It was either you take your prescriptions or you get sicker. That was the mentality. Like you go to the doctor for every little thing. You have a sore throat, you go to the doctor. If your foot hurts, you go to the doctor. You go to the same doctor because we're only a small town. So like the same doctor that treated your foot is gonna treat your sore throat and treat your rash and your sinus infection. Like, it was what it was back then in that area. So, fast forward when I get this diagnosis in December with this autoimmune flare, and I noticed that I had some red stains on my shirt. And I just thought, okay, well, it's probably like barbecue sauce, or maybe I cut myself in my sleep because I would like, look at my breast and there was no scab or anything. And I'm like, well, I don't know what it would be other than just maybe I got something on my shirt while I was cooking or eating or something. So we never really like thought much of it. And eventually in April, this is just shortly after this is April, so I find out what I'm allergic to January, and I'm on this elimination diet, and I'm in the shower and my nipple just opened up and it looked like a crime scene in the shower because I was bleeding so heavily and I couldn't get it to stop bleeding. And my boyfriend at the time literally just like wrapped me up in a towel and we went to the emergency room.
That is
And they
bizarre.
and we still never thought it would be cancer because once again, even my doctors, while we're talking to them through this, they're like, well, we've done so many tests on you. This was probably just something like a benign growth or something in your breast, and we'll and that's probably it, and we'll just take care of it. So they prescribed all the exams. We did an ultrasound, we did a mammogram. Both of them came back negative. They biopsied the blood, that also came back negative for any cancer cells. But because we wanted to stop the bleeding, my oncologist was like, go and let's do a surgical biopsy and also stop the bleeding. And we'll, just make sure it's not cancerous. And sure enough, it was like a 1% chance that it was cancer. Thankfully, it was an early stage cancer, and it was in my milk duct. But the problem was that the tumor was more of like a mass, and it was 10 centimeters. So it was so big, but for some reason it was not. I stress this because I hope that people that are listening or watching that might suspect that there's something going on with their breast, and just because their mammogram and their ultrasound comes back negative and you are feeling something is off in your body, pursue that feeling.
Mm.
So I then went in, once they found that it was cancer, they put me in an MRI. And the MRI, my whole breast lit up like a Christmas tree. And so I didn't even have a choice to get a lumpectomy. It was so spread. Thankfully, it didn't reach my lymph nodes, but it was still spread throughout my breast. And I did end up having a mastectomy. And that mastectomy, though, and the experience going through cancer is what led me to my own, spiritual awakening and redirected my entire path of existence. Um, because I went from this, fashion girl, who loved to, her designers and loved dressing people and being in that energy, to a girl that lived in a hospital
Mm.
bed. Once
Mm.
again, it like it was fun while it lasted, but I went back to those memories of being that little girl that was always in and out of the hospital. But this time, the cancer, because so many things got unlocked with that cancer. It was like everything that I experienced from childhood that was kind of at bay, but still there. It was just misfiring. And I had all of these, well, I didn't know at the time, but they were histamine reactions and anxieties and all of this stuff that I didn't even know, at the time it was mast cell activation syndrome. But having a mastectomy, and they had to give me implants, which I wish I would have known then what I know now about the dangers of implants and silicone and all of the toxins that get into your body. That's another journey and another topic for another day. But all of these mind blowing, mysterious symptoms just started to come back. And I felt so lost because even the best doctors at Cedars-Sinai did not know what to do with me. And I thought for sure, like, I mean, at least they found the cancer, so I was indebted to them. But well, I felt like I was indebted to these doctors. So I was like, well, at least, they didn't gaslight me like I had been gaslit and other with other doctors, but still having all of these weird symptoms, heart issues, digestive issues, all of these things that I could not get under control. It eventually led me to a Reiki circle that
Mm.
my cancer center was having. And I met this woman from Brazil, and she came up to me and she's like, do you know why you're sick? And I just looked at her and I was like, I had breast cancer. Yeah, like I've been sick my whole life. It just escalated to cancer now. And she's like, no, honey, you've not been using your gifts.
Wow.
And that energy is going inward and it's leading you to your path.
Mm.
And I, being the stubborn hard ass that I am, was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and then and then she's like, yes, you do. And then I started crying. And I said, my teacher died when I was 9 because part of my journey was that I lost my father when I was 9, and he was also super intuitive. So when he left and passed away, it was like part of that part of me left, died with him. But
And
because
let me interrupt you real quick because I know a little bit about your story, but I don't know enough to say this for sure. But wasn't it also that those gifts were kind of minimized or poo-pooed on by the surviving family members?
well, a lot of them didn't know that I had them, thankfully.
Oh,
Um,
so they didn't like shame your dad.
my
That's
mom loved like my dad's gifts.
good, good, good.
And she was like the only person in my family that really understood my gifts because, you know, one day she made me do something that my dad used to do, and it was something with cards. And my dad was amazing. I don't know if I can share this, but I'll
You
share this. But
you can
okay,
share everything.
okay. Um,
Everything.
so one of the things that my dad was incredible at was that he would do we would call playing cards, regardless whether they were like your basic playing cards or like Old Maid or Goldfish, whatever, even if he'd never seen them before in his life. He would have you pick a card and you'd look at the card and think the card, and he would tell you the name of the card that you were thinking of. It wasn't that you were reading that he was reading the card, he was reading
You.
he was reading you. And so my mom one night when I was 13 was like, let's just see if you have your father's gift. And I was like, oh, mom, like I don't want to do this. And she's like, no, I really want to see. And we were having a blizzard. And I was like, oh, I have to go to school tomorrow. And she's like, no, we're having a blizzard. Your school's going to get called off. You can stay awake. Like she was so intrigued by this. And I don't know what got into her, but long story short, we ended up doing um, the whole deck twice. The first couple, I will say, I was like, I was like trying to resist, and by, the fourth card, I was doing the same thing, and she's like, and then I started getting a headache, and she's like, your father used to get headaches, but that was like I will remember that memory forever because that was the first time in my heart that I really was able to connect with myself in a way that helped me connect with my dad.
Mm,
And like my mom was able to see me in that
mm.
because I had been seeing things since I was a little kid, since I was 5. And that's only, I mean, I'm sure it was probably even before I was 5, but I don't have any memories of that. So to have that experience be validated by your parent who believed in your father, but it was like wasn't something that we went around town talking about. I just
No, like she didn't want to make you like a circus monkey, but then again, it's undeniable. Like
right,
you can't make this up. There's no way that you could have guessed all of that.
right. And what she would do was we would go through a half of the deck and then she'd reshuffle them. Because, once you go through a half a deck, everything else becomes more of just like process of elimination that you could just start guessing.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, we did half, let's just shuffle them again and go through it just to make sure. And, I was 13 at the time when we did that. It was seventh grade. So I was like 13 or 14, but around there. And and I was like, you don't think that I'm a freak? Like, and she was like, no, she goes, your father did this all the time. And I just wanted to see if you had his gift. And now I know. And it's like, and that was it. And but I kept that to myself. And I think only like my best friend, the one that used to take care of me, yeah, she knew, and she was also super intuitive. And so it was like something that we always bonded over, and we still bond over that to this day. And she's just an incredible human being. Um, but, going, fast forward to like this coming up after all of these years of suppression. I mean, oh my God, I'm just making a connection right now because that happened in 2000 when I was 13, and then I got my cancer in 2013.
Wow. Wow.
So, wow.
And
That
so it was that woman who basically brought it to your attention that
yeah,
it's your suppression of your gifts that is causing such an exacerbation of your illness.
1,000%. And so I ended up working with her on a weekly basis doing Reiki and energy work. And was from Brazil. She was actually like a nun, before she wanted to be a nun before she started doing Reiki and got married. And I learned so much about myself and my healing. And, but the one thing I didn't learn was the importance of eating meat, because at the same time, you enter this world of spirituality at my cancer center, where everybody in that community, not just spiritual, but medical, and given all my food allergies, because, apparently when you're allergic to dairy, that means you should just become a vegan. So I started really pushing, like, was started to really go down that rabbit hole of becoming more plant-based, and that because that's what my doctors encouraged, my oncologist, my cancer rehab doctors, and then being, so influenced at this point within the spiritual community, I was like, well, this just makes sense. And so I really started to kind of drink that Kool-Aid. I never fully gave up meat because I was too afraid of like giving it up 100%. So I would allow myself like once or twice a week to have just like a palm, like a palm sized uh, portion of chicken or a steak or a burger, turkey. I mainly kept to light meats like chicken or turkey, and I would allow myself to have bison or grass-fed beef twice a month. So, um, so and then from that experience of receiving Reiki, I started to heal.
Mm,
But more importantly, I started to reconnect myself and started to understand
mm,
my soul and my soul's journey. And I started to put all of these spiritual ties together of realizing that maybe I had to go off path. Maybe I had to have these weird chronic illnesses because it ultimately led me to my purpose.
mm,
And within 9 months of working with her and reversing a lot of my dis-eases from just, regulating the nervous system through energy work, but also really like learning about myself and like awakening to this greater consciousness, I guess you could say, of a world that really like made everything change. I went from the girl that wanted to live in this fashion world to
mm,
the girl that was like, I just want to put on pants and stop putting on a like a hospital gown.
mm.
And I remember just crying, saying, like, I don't even care what brand the pants are. I just want to wear them. And through that journey made me realize that my purpose was more than just dressing people and styling people, that my purpose was more coming from a place of service.
Mm.
And I think that was partly why I loved dressing people. It wasn't maybe so much about what I was dressing them in, but being of service, because we all know when we look good, we feel good.
Mhm.
And when I couldn't even look good or feel good, it put a lot of things into perspective. And so having this experience with energy, with receiving Reiki and connecting with my gifts, I realized that my true calling was to to work with my gifts, to go back to what my soul, the contract to what my soul agreed to do before it was born, as we say, and start working and helping people within the chronic illness space and within this space of energy and nutrition and spirituality. And I really started, once you really understand how the mind, body, and spirit connects, that's when you have, I believe, like that's like when you realize that you have like your total optimal health.
Mm,
Is you need one, you need all three. You can't just heal the
mm,
physical. You can't just
mm,
heal the emotional. You can't just heal this like the spiritual. Everything has to come together. And in the beginning, the first leg of my illness was spirituality. But then so I started my practice shortly after that, and I had it for 5 years. And then I moved in with a boyfriend, and I didn't realize that the house had a lot of mold and water damage. And I ended up having a surgery for something called thoracic outlet syndrome. And I didn't realize how compromised my immune system was by the time I had this surgery. That when I had it, like another box of like Pandora's box just completely unlocked again. And the energy work and the spirituality and the mind body stuff that I was doing wasn't enough.
mm.
And I could not like meditate or Reiki myself well because at this point my nervous system was so compromised. I couldn't even stand up longer than 15 minutes without fainting.
Mm.
I had lost my driver's license. My lung got nicked in the surgery, so I had a pneumothorax, and my lung had to learn how to I had to learn how to breathe with
Mm.
both lungs. I had a one of those machines that helped you breathe, and they had a chest tube to help drain the fluid that was coming from my lung. But then I started having all these food allergies again, and I was trying to do everything I could. I was trying like a low histamine diet. I was trying, low histamine paleo diet. Like I was trying every little thing and nothing was working. And eventually all of these vegetables that I was eating was putting me into anaphylactic reactions over and over and over again. I was in the hospital multiple times a week using my EpiPen, using Benadryl. I mean, I really thought I was going to die. And I went, and saw a neurologist, I saw a cardiologist, and they just kept diagnosing me with autonomic dysfunction. One thought that my vagus nerve was nicked, and the other one just thought it was just, a side effect from the surgery. And nobody ever checked me for anything else. And they just kept saying, well, you're just going to have to learn how to manage this and live this way for the rest of your life. And I'm like, that rest of my life is going to be within a couple of months. Now, to give you some context, that surgery was in 2019. And by January 2021, I was on my deathbed. At that point, I had lost like 40 pounds. I was like 89 pounds and probably less. But once I got to 89 pounds, I stopped stepping on the scale. I didn't want to know anymore. But I just kept losing weight. I I couldn't eat anything. I was down to maybe three foods. They wanted to put me on TPN and a feeding tube. And so my boyfriend and I ended up breaking up, and because he couldn't handle it, I lost everything. And I then that but with us breaking up, and then he sells the house, and that's when we learned that the house was filled with mold and that it was severely water damaged. So at least I got some answers about that, even though at the time I didn't know the severity of mold illness. And then we ended up, when we split, I ended up going to Pennsylvania where my mom still lives. And my mom was having a knee replacement surgery. And I thought, I would help her. And maybe while I was helping her, even though I was on my deathbed, I was like, well, maybe I could find some sort of, root cause because nobody, once again, nobody could figure out what was wrong with me and just wanted to, like, because I had an umbrella diagnosis of autonomic dysfunction, every little thing I was experiencing just went under that diagnosis. And I was diagnosed with like 15 different neurological diagnoses and three different cardiac diagnoses. And I was like, I was like, at the time, I was like, I'm 35 years old. How can I be diagnosed with all of these things after a surgery that I thought I was somewhat healthy to have?
Hmm.
You know? So it was just like, no, there's got to be something more. And when I went home, I was having another anaphylactic reaction when I got home, and just so happened one of my old neighbors called my mom to check on me to see how I was doing. And I was in the middle of a reaction, and he's like, has she ever been checked for Lyme disease?
Mm.
And he he was asking my mom this while I was stabbing myself with an EpiPen, and I'm losing my mind over why are we talking about Lyme disease? I already know I have an autonomic dysfunction, but Lyme disease was the furthest thought from why like I was so sick. And, sure enough, after fighting with him because I truly didn't think I had Lyme. I didn't think he knew what he was talking about. And I just kept telling him, you just want your misery to, misery loves company, you know? And so I was like, you're just projecting on me, and I just kept going off on him. And so I ended up lying to my doctor. I called my doctor in California. I lied to him and I told him that I was walking in a Big Bear, which is our forest where people go hiking and skiing and adventuring. And so I went there. I told him that I had gone there and that I pulled a tick off of me just so that I would get tested. And sure enough, he did test me. And the crazy thing about this is that Lyme tests are only 30% accurate. So
Really?
So 70% of Lyme tests that come back negative are actually positive.
Wow.
And so the fact that mine came back through Quest Labs positive was like an instant, like every doctor that I'd showed in Pennsylvania that my Lyme, they were like, you are so sick because it never shows up on Quest.
Wow.
So then I got tested for the co-infections. I only got tested for Babesia, Bartonella. Those came back positive. Babesia is malaria's sister. So it's basically the same disease. It's a parasite of the red blood cell. And then Bartonella, which had destroyed, that was what was destroying my gut and my digestive system. And they think was also contributing to the eosinophilic esophagitis. And then the Lyme was affecting my neurological system. And the mold was the environment that pulled the trigger on all of this because it got into my tissues and
Mm.
got into my brain. It just I was plagued with it.
Mm.
So it was a huge complex case. And I really thought I was going to go to, like when I was going to Pennsylvania to go home, I was like, well, maybe I'm going home to go home because that by that time felt so much more in alignment to how I was feeling.
Mm.
And my doctor, the Lyme doctor that I had seen, had told me I was so sick that I was going to have to figure it out on my own because he couldn't give me anything to to treat it because I was so sick. And at that time,
You couldn't have even have sustained the treatment.
exactly, exactly. So that's how I rolled into carnivore because at that same time I was seeing him, I had lost my ability to eat anything other than meat. And I didn't even know about a carnivore diet. It was just, process of elimination that I'm reacting to all of these vegetables. Maybe if I have a burger or something, I'll be able to tolerate that. And sure enough, I did. I was still having a slight reaction because the meat was aged, but then I learned about getting non-aged meat. So then I called nearly 500 farms, and that's how I found Billy Doe meats, which we all know my love for Billy Doe meats. Um, but that's how I found them. And that's how I think they were like farm 502, and they sent me a box of their non-aged lamb and goat and veal. And it was like the only thing that I had ever eaten in the like last year and a half that didn't even remotely give me a reaction.
Wow.
So because I was so sick and I couldn't take any supplements, their meat became my not only my food but my medicine. And then I incorporated organ meat because that really helped me thrive when I was so deprived, and it's what helped me regain my health. Now at the same time as I'm going through this, I was also having this huge identity crisis because I'm like, well, wait, I'm supposed to be plant-based and I love to cook and now I can't even cook. And
And you're
so,
supposed to be spiritual and eat the rainbow and not take a life.
yes, exactly. And so I was going through a major conflict of, well, like, I'm supposed to eat this meat every single day. I like what, to like, what about my vegetables? And I tried really, really hard to like hold on to the few vegetables that I could, but it wasn't helping. It wasn't helping me. It wasn't I was just doing it out of fear of losing more things because at that time my soul felt like I was at such a loss because I'd just, lost so much. I'd lost my dog, I lost my boyfriend, I lost our like the house we were living in, I lost my life in LA. I was like, I just like, please just let me keep a Brussels sprout in my life, like, like I just want to keep a piece of chocolate. Please just let me keep the one thing.
Wow.
But I did manage to keep my practice going and I started doing all of my work remotely. And thankfully, that's what, like, just having my clients that still trusted me despite what I was going through, still being able to work, even if it was only one or two clients a week, it still made me feel like I was being able to stay true to my purpose and my passion.
Mm.
And, but while I've been like, so, now it's been 5 years of being on this journey with Carnivore and creating this healing space for my clients, I realized that, the foundation has to be your nutrition comes first.
Mm.
And meat for me, and I think for anybody that's suffering from chronic illness or any type of disease or wants to optimize their health, meat has to be the foundation of your health, your healing, and everything that you stand for, when it comes to total wellness. We cannot heal a body that's not nutritionally balanced and sound. And that goes for in all ways, spiritually, mentally, physically. So once you have that foundation, I was able to build like a house. It's like you build your house through your foundation. So we start with nutrition and then everything else starts to just naturally get built. Like I remember after like just a couple of weeks of just eating pure carnivore, of just eating red meat, was like lights were coming back on in my brain and my intuition started to actually get stronger. And which, they say in the spiritual world that oh, it lowers your frequency. You shouldn't be eating meat because it lowers your vibration and it calcifies your pineal gland and all these things. And maybe I don't know. I can't, I don't really understand because it's like, well, I've had this gift since I was 5, so I don't know. I was eating a pretty shitty diet when I was a kid, on a standard American diet, and I still had these gifts, but I didn't know what to do with them because I wasn't very clear. So
Mm,
I would say that the processed food, really took my clarity. And when you're
mm,
eating something so pure that, God created, it's like we're living in a true circle of life. And we're able to connect that food that connects to us. It's the vibration. We're ingesting not just the food, but we're ingesting the vibration, we're ingesting the energy. It's like we're ingesting that soul,
yeah.
which is elevating and nourishing our mind, our body, our soul. It kind of like brings me back to like the that back in the day they used to say like like witches would eat children. I totally understand it.
They're harvesting that energy.
Yeah, it's the energy of longevity and vitality. Children are super resilient. They're active. They've got a lot of life. And so, and it's similar when we're eating an animal, we're ingesting that energy. And I think that's something that we all need to sustain ourselves, you know. So, if anything, carnivore has been the greatest gift
Mm.
because it's given me my life back, but it also has given me the opportunity to help people heal themselves. And also not just with carnivore, but like I was just saying, how my gifts and my work evolved because of this way of eating. It's helped me heal myself, and it taught me how to become my own greatest healer, and it's inspired me to help other people take back their power and find their own healing within themselves.
Yeah, and I think if you were not such a threat in the spiritual realm, that they would have left you alone. And so it's kind of like they doth protest too much. Like, childhood chronic illness wasn't enough, so we gave her breast cancer. That wasn't enough, so we gave her, the anaphylactic response. That wasn't enough, so we gave her Lyme's disease. That wasn't enough. Like, and what I think is so powerful, and we talked about this before we hit record, is that it doesn't work for them to inhibit you because all that does is multiply you.
That's right. That's right. And, to find out when, like, finally got diagnosed with Lyme when I was 35, but to find out that that was the root cause of all my chronic health issues my entire life, it's like, a light bulb
Mm.
went on. And I didn't realize that I had all of these other genetic dispositions that were inhibiting me. But I think that all of like we're all just so beautifully made, but I feel like all of that weaved in together made me who I am. And so I can't like look back at this journey throughout my life and just like say it was a curse or be upset about it. For me, it was like I was supposed to have this. This was a gift.
Yeah.
Not just the spirituality and the, intuitive parts of me, but the whole experience. The illness, the suffering, the pain, the loss, the rebirth, the death, all of it. And it because it truly was like if you look back, when I look back, I'm like, this is it all everything always unfolds the way it's supposed to. And that suffering, that pain, that suffering is really what birthed where I am now and what I'm doing and my mission. And, to be able to be of service to help people.
Yeah, and
And
I think that that refinement is very important to get you to the purity that you're at now. That was the first thing that I recognized in your energy when I first met you was how pure it was. I never thought for a second, like, you meet another woman and you're like, she might stab me in my back or
oh,
she might talk about me or whatever. Like, you meet new people, but you're just kind of like immediately it was this pure energy. And I was like, what is this? But then when I hear your story, I recognize that all of these impurities were literally like removed out of you and through that refinement of the torture and the suffering. And therefore, every single step was necessary to get you to the place that you are now.
1000%. I feel so blessed for it because it led me to people, especially you.
Hmm.
Like, I would not be here. We would not be having this conversation. And who knows what type of people I would have been surrounded by right now.
Hmm.
And the, I truly believe, light sees light. And I feel so blessed that I've been accepted by the carnivore community and the people that I've been guided to. It's been a beautiful journey of meeting so many wonderful, like-minded people. And there's nothing greater than having that experience, like at Meat Stock, for example, when we were all together, just sharing our stories and just sharing our beliefs, and nobody's questioning you or putting down your experience. It's like we're all there engaging and supporting one another. And I mean, how beautiful, how beautiful is that? And when I met you, it was like a light, like I swear, I'll never forget when I first saw you. It was like this huge aura around you of white light, and I didn't feel like I had to be guarded. Like I knew I was in a safe space already. That Meat Stock, it provides a really great safe container.
Hmm.
And so I already was feeling really good and really safe just being there. And it was just, one meeting of somebody after another. But then when I met you, it was like the world stopped.
Oh.
And I was like, this girl, like, she's me. It was like a mirror, and like just where I felt like we saw so much of each other inside one another. And that was one of the most profound experiences
Well,
of my
and
life.
I think it was very timely because I was just coming into my own voice and voicing my truth. And you made it safe for me to say I'm a Reiki master. You made it
Yeah.
safe for me. Like I was so like you were probably the first person I ever admitted that to because I had just finished my Reiki 3 or whatever, and like the week or the month before, and I said it to you, and as soon as I said it out loud, I almost wanted to like put the words back in my mouth because it was the first time I had admitted out loud to somebody, a complete stranger. And then when it landed and you lit up and you were like, I'm so proud of you, I was like, it's safe to tell another human like about this spiritual journey. And so not only was that a mirror for me, but that also was a way, like you were a way shower for me to be able to step into my truth and my spirituality because it's not always safe to say, I'm trained in Reiki and I practice that.
Right. Or to even say you're a medium.
Yeah.
And the and then when I combine the two, it's like Reiki and a medium. And I hate using the word psychic, so I use intuitive instead. And I blend that with science and holistic health because just because I do those things, I also am educated. and I have experience and learned through my experience. And so it's really hard to be seen because some people want to put you in one category. And that's what I think is really difficult. And I think why you've also what you've experienced is that when you say you're a Reiki master, you're automatically put in this category by certain people that want to silence you and want to tell you that you're not working in the right way. I'm going to just leave it at that. Um, and so it can be really terrifying to own it. So you and I are very similar. It's like, so we will change the way that we speak about ourselves
Hmm.
so that we are not taken in a negative way. We have both spent more time caring about what others think about us and say about us behind our backs than actually caring about what we feel. And we both know that the disease that can cause us and imbalances within our body. And even though I know that I still do this and I still have, and it's like when I start doing that, I flare up again. I will have like Lyme flare ups. I will have hormonal dysregulations. It's like I'm not, I'm not, creating safety in my body when I'm not being truthful to who I am.
Well, and it
And
comes to the point where we have to, like we've been told so many times, we have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first. I cannot help anybody if I don't help myself first. And I know that disease, chronic illness, all of this will exacerbate into my physical experience if I do not operate in and speak my truth.
correct.
And so
And
I can't be quiet just to comfort others.
that's right. And it's like I'm not saying that's right for us, but I was saying that's right because that's the status quo. That is the way of the world, unfortunately, right now, because we can be judged before we can educate, before we can have the opportunity to educate. And so I think that's part of the imbalance of the world, and people want to kind of judge people, uh, but and that can be very very terrifying. It's like being burnt at the stake again.
Exactly. And I think also that I'm so glad that you said that because I feel that that's what happens is I start to short circuit. My central nervous system goes offline whenever I quiet myself, whenever I stop sharing my truth. That what they call it a witch wound, that I literally have this visceral response in my body that I really believe that the people of my town are going to burn me at the stake.
Mhm.
It's that same feeling. And so therefore it is my responsibility as the steward of this physical body to make sure that I regulate my central nervous system first, because if I don't, I'm of no use to anybody, much less myself, if I am sitting here being concerned that I'm going to be burned at the stake.
Right, right. And I'm right with you. I feel, the same way. And just going through, we all carry that wound in different parts of our body. For me, it's in my lymphatic system.
Hmm.
My hormones in my lymphatic system right now. That's the big culprit. And my thyroid. If I'm not speaking my truth, and that goes for anybody, anybody that's listening, if you've had any type of, chronic inflammation around your throat, your thyroid, maybe you have Hashimoto's, And I've studied this long enough. I've been doing this now for 10 years, but I've also studied other people like Gabor Mate, like Louise Hay. Um, those are just a couple, Caroline Myth. These are great people to read some of their books, to understand the connection of the human body and suppressed emotions and
Mm,
suppressed words. And especially if we are not communicating, if we're not communicating efficiently, if we're suppressing, you're going to notice a lot of inflammation in your throat, chronic throat infections, chronic, strep throat, chronic um, thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances. These are all things that our emotions can really affect in our body if we're not addressing them.
mm,
And that's what and emotions are energy in motion. That's how I've always looked at that. So what are you not putting into whatever you're not putting into motion, you're you're putting it into suppression.
mm.
So really understanding that every physical dis-ease, it manifests itself from an emotional experience or an energetic experience. And once you can really start to learn that there's so many different parts of the puzzle, that's when you can really start fine tuning your healing.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And walk me through a little bit because obviously your name is meat-based medium. And so everybody really enjoys stopping at meat-based. Oh yeah, Angela, meat-based. Angela. Yeah. But I wanna lean in. I don't wanna skip over. I don't wanna be afraid of. I want to lean in and I want to give you the mic. I want to give you the stage and I want to hear what your experience has been being a meat-based medium.
So, first of all, I have to share that I used to follow medical medium, Anthony
Hmm.
Williams,
Hmm.
because I found him in the spiritual community. And when I about died from some of his protocols, because I was so into the fast or into the juicing and the celery juicing and the cleansing, and when I can't digest plants anymore and they become poisonous to me, um, I kind of made a pun about like, well, I might as well become the meat-based medium.
But you are like whenever I call you and get help from you, it feels very much like the medical medium in that you have this level of not only connection, but this level of understanding of the science of it. You know what I mean? It's like two worlds are colliding to
Right,
create these solutions and these answers.
right. And I also want to bring this into this space is that as much as I speak about the spiritual community, but I started my practice in the medical community. And because when I started having my own, when I created my own practice, I didn't really know what was going to start coming up for me when I was working on people. Sometimes it would be a past life experience. And then sometimes it would be like I would start seeing, like, as a clairvoyant, I would start seeing things in their field, in their energy field. And I was very fortunate to have friends that I knew enough to ask them to get on my table, but I didn't know enough about them to know what their life story was. These were friends that I would just see on Saturday nights and like we'd party together. And they were also friends that I made in my cancer center.
Hmm.
So I had a little bit of everything while I first started out and was just practicing. And at that point, I had been doing Reiki, receiving Reiki every week. So during that time, I was really allowing myself to reconnect to my intuition and learning how to communicate with spirit and understanding what spirit was saying to me while I was doing my own healing so that I could start trusting these higher higher power voices. And it was very overwhelming at times. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and it was like three or four people talking to me. And I almost felt like I was having a schizophrenic moment, but it was always about someone. So I would call them and say, hey, I just woke up from an X, Y, and Z, dream. I would say, and I would tell them about what was going on and what I heard. And they would say, oh my gosh, Angela, that's exactly what's happening right now. So I started having, these were my validations because I was never, the validations that I had growing up were so minimized because I wasn't truly able to talk about them or experience them. So my little mini validations growing up were like the cards, or I would write down, like I would have a premonition of something and I would write it down in my journal or my diary and then it would happen, but I had nobody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
And, and some of these things were like, I had a dream that my friend got in a car accident and like the next day he did,
Yeah.
and so there was always this healthy balance. But then like I said, but once I started actually owning this, I was 29 at this time, 29, 30, there were things that I started happening within my my field with my clients or my friends that were letting me practice on them. And I just couldn't deny. And when I started to work on some of my friends that had cancer, luckily I was friends, like we all had the same doctors. So I started seeing things light up in their field while I was working on them. And thank God for my doctors that believed me and that believed like, them because I would say, hey, go ask Dr. So and so to test you for this particular test. Like, go have him do a liver test or have them check your kidneys. And I mean, I happened twice where I had two friends and I said, I don't know how to tell you this because I'm not a doctor, but please go ask them, ask your doctor to retest you for cancer. And, unfortunately, both of them passed away. Uh, but
Those are those times you don't want to be right.
yeah, those are those times when you don't want to be right, but at least they were able to be on treatment and they both came back and like, you were right. And I said, I don't want to be right. This isn't about right. Like this isn't, my ego is not a part of this.
Hmm.
I'm here to be of service, but I'm just sharing these experiences because that is how I learned to trust myself was by working with people that trusted me
Hmm.
enough to allow me to speak my truth, to start sharing what I was seeing so that they could actually go get the help that they needed. Because at that time, I didn't, I mean, not that I don't think anybody has all the answers, but I didn't have enough knowledge to support them that way. And so as I continued to grow, one of the things that I say, like, I might be intuitive and I might be a medium, but I'm not here to be a fortune teller. I'm not
No.
here to, like, and that was something that I had to really talk to and pray about. Was like, I'm not here to predict someone's future. I'm not here to tell you, you know, you're gonna die, like I never, like, I'm not here to do any type of predicting. I'm here to just experience your energy and what I'm seeing is coming up for you. because of whatever you've been through or gone through. And so I trust what I see, and I do connect with people's loved ones that pass on. That's part of the medium work that I do. And I've got messages, you know.
Yeah.
I've got
You've had to turn off the messages
I've had to
sometimes.
turn that down. Um, and and there are things that I learn about people through this work that there's no way there's no way I would have known. And part of what I love about doing my work now remotely, because I've gotten it all when it comes from like outsiders of, oh well, you can just people that are claimed to be psychic, right? That they just know how to read people, and they're reading their body language. And let me just to clarify that I work now with people all over the world remotely. I don't even know what they look like. We do everything over the phone. I don't even use Zoom. I don't even have a Zoom account. So everything I do is over the phone. And when I am working with them, it's like I'm connected to their energy. So it's wild, right? When I call them back and I'm giving them this download of an experience that I pulled up from their session. But now with with the experience of going through even more with Lyme and mold and detox and all the things, I've learned to bridge not just the energy work, but I've learned how to help my clients create their own personalized healing plans that connect the spirituality with the diet, the animal-based carnivore diet as the foundation. And then we braid in the other tools, and we focus on the lymphatic system. We focus on the nervous system. We focus on drainage and opening up your detox pathways. We find the root cause. And I'm so grateful now that there are labs that I can use that I can, if I see something that comes up, I don't have to be like, hey, go have your doctor test you for this. I can just say, hey, go get this tested, So it's it's nice to be able to braid the two or three together, the mind, the body, the spirit, to really become a holistic practitioner. But it really took me a while to really lean into that because, like, even this year, I mean, and you've been a part of this journey, is that I wanted to almost stop leaning into the medium and just say, like, oh, I'm just a holistic practitioner. And it really wasn't until Meat Stock this year that when I reconnected with you and our friend James and so many of the other women that were like, Angela, but this is your gift. This is who you are.
Mm,
Like, lead with that.
mm,
And that terrified me
mm.
because I'm like, but people, what if they don't take me seriously anymore? And it's like, but I've already been doing this, for so long. But I've been doing it in a different community, and to bring it into a more conservative community can be very scary because I want people to understand that this is not about like me being God. I'm not playing God here. I believe in God. I pray to God. God gave me this gift. And so I'm just here to use it, to own it, to be of service with it. And that's truly what my whole world is about. And every time I step away from it, God surely knows how to bring me right back to it, because I've spent this whole year trying to become someone else and be more of a holistic coach and just focus on that. Maybe step away from the Reiki. And you know what? Get me right back to where I'm at right now with you. So, um, and I think that if I could give anybody that's listening any advice is that, you know, there's nothing more beautiful than being authentic and owning
Mm.
who you are and showing up as your most authentic self, even if people don't agree with it. And even because the thing is if you only show up as a half version of you, then people will only love one side of you. They're not going to know the other side. And so you're really doing yourself a disservice because people then are only going to misunderstand you if they don't truly know all of you.
Yeah, and when we have to be the one to love us first.
That's right.
And when we lack that love, like I love go ahead and say what you say about ill because that's it. Being ill is the root cause.
That's right. That's right. So I say that illness starts with ILL. I lack love.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that every illness, every root cause of illness stems from a version of ourselves that lacks love for ourselves.
And think about how many people are just trying to hide. They're just trying to
Trying to hide.
pretend like everything's okay. I'm not sick. I'm not having these other thoughts outside of, mainstream media. Um, and they're trying to hide and they're not walking in their authenticity and they're not loving themselves enough to be seen. And that's why I say, and I will say this until I take my last breath, the medicine that you afforded me was the love, and that was so important whenever I met you. And when we meet each other and when we go to Meat Stock or we go to these other events or Hack Your Health or whatever, is that medicine to not only love each other, but to show that it's safe to love and it's safe to be loved. And we have to be the one to love ourselves first.
Right? And that is so rare. People don't realize how rare it is. People underestimate the power of love and that frequency of loving yourself can be so healing.
Mm.
Marianne Williamson says there's only two vibrations, love and fear. And I truly believe that. And then also, like, let's just take it further to like a more scientific approach, right? Look at Albert Einstein and his theories about energy. And it's like, we're energetic beings, we're spiritual beings. We're having this human experience, but we're trying to learn how to operate and live in a world where there's so much fear and lower vibration. And it's keeping us ill because it's keeping us from loving ourselves and loving one another.
Mm.
And if we can love ourselves, we can heal ourselves.
Yeah. We don't
CEO.
have to wait on someone to come and like be our knight in shining armor.
We're
Like
here.
we get to volunteer and go, "Hey, I'm gonna love myself." So anybody who's watching this right now and you're sitting there going, "Yeah, but I have this chronic this or I have this or you don't understand my childhood." Like you get to be the one that stands up for you.
That's
You get to
right.
be the one that parents yourself, that nurtures yourself. And
Right.
that's what I love about what our platform is and what we get to do is we get to show people how possible it is to start with loving ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, this just dawned on me when we were saying this is that look at how many diseases start in the gut.
Yeah.
Like
And mental
not
illness.
mental illness, leaky gut, SIBO, SIFO, Candida, parasites. And
Mm.
I'm not saying, oh, we're just gonna sit here and love ourselves and then everything's gonna like miraculously just, disappear. But you've got to start the frequency there. And
Mm.
then, you know, you got to start treating the physical. You got to do some physical things to vibrate that love that you're that you're feeling for yourself to get well, to make that decision. And I say this all the time. We're one decision away from healing. You've got
Mm.
to make that choice. But even more so, like look at, I believe that the connection between leaky gut, trauma, and leaky boundaries and leaky relationships.
Mm.
The disconnect that we have. Our relationships are also part of our environment. Look at the people that you're surrounded with. It's not just where you're living. It's not, just not just the mold in the house. It's not just the food. It's it's the people that you're around. What are you absorbing from them? Are you absorbing a high vibration from them, or are they constantly in a low vibration? Are we are we surrounding ourselves with, you know, clean air? Are we surrounding ourselves with clean thoughts?
Mm.
When we go through so much, the layers of the onion just peel back one at a time. So these like, and I see this too, like I'm just speaking from my own practice, right? Is that people come in and they're like, oh, I've got Lyme, and I'm like, okay, well, or I've got mold, or I've got this, or I don't know what I've got, and it's like, I don't just start with, okay, what have you been exposed to. But where I first started is, okay, tell me about the last three relationships. Are you single? Are you married? Tell me about that relationship. Tell me about your other relationships. Let's start there. Let's start about, okay, well, where do you live? What kind of home do you have? What are you eating? What are you thinking? What are you believing?
Mm.
What are you feeling? People don't even know what they're feeling. And that's why, to me, using energy work like Reiki, because it allows me to because most of the time when people finally come to me, they're so chronically ill and sick that they don't know what came first.
Mm-mm.
So you've got to be methodical when it comes to this. Because some people, it's like we've got to start right on with the Reiki and the energy work. And sometimes I'll work on somebody or I'll just be connecting with them. And I'm like, no, I can't even do Reiki on you right now because you'd have too much of a healing crisis. We got to start here instead. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then some people is like, okay, let's just, some people like, let's just, focus on just energy work because you're too sensitive. I can't even put you on a supplement or a detox. So at least I know that the energy work and the diet will be enough. And sometimes I can't even put them on a full carnivore diet because their body is just too sensitive. So we've got to wean into the carnivore diet. So I start with animal based. So everybody has a different body, but ultimately it comes down to a few things that are always the same. Adjusting their frequency, raising their vibration, regulating their nervous system, and having them reconnect to their soul, their spirit, their mind, and body.
Mm.
And we do that on, methodically and ways that only their body and their mind and their soul can connect with. But I never know.
Yeah,
And
and I think also there's a lot of I don't know what you would say, but there's a lot of programming
yeah,
of shame and there's a lot of programming of worthlessness. And so I think it's a very important, and I know that you do this, is you start with the program and kind of like I want to say deconstruct that or.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful place to like that you brought up because a lot of people stay stuck in a story that they never wrote.
Ooh, I felt
And
that.
the it was all written by other people.
And they're the
And
victim.
and they are the victim of this story.
Yeah.
So they're stuck in this space of not, and they don't even realize it. And that's the thing. It's like the subconscious is so darn strong, and your energy field does not lie. And so, like, sometimes I'll pull up stuff like these stories, and I'm like, I sit there with them, and the first thing I say is, why don't you want to heal?
Mm,
What's keeping you from healing?
mm,
And sometimes I get the worst responses because it's like they don't want to own it, they and I have to explain to them like we are the master, we are our own masters, like we are the creators of the universe within us. So what is keeping you sick? And so we've got to remind them and help them remember that we are allowed to be healthy. And it's that programming because sometimes people just don't think that they're worthy enough
hmm
to get well, that they're not worthy enough. I mean, that also comes down to relationships, right? Like, I'm not worthy enough to be in a healthy relationship. I'm not worthy enough to be loved. Like, self-worth
mm,
is everything in all aspects of our lives. Because one thing, the human body, I would say as a total, like we all fear rejection.
yeah.
We all fear this, like, not being accepted or approved of. And that's why we all wear these masks
Yeah.
because we just want to fit in. And when we're, even though our soul so badly wants to stand out.
Mm,
And I have felt that my entire life. I can be a chameleon and I've tried it and it never gets me far. But you know what? I think I've finally reached my breaking point, but so many people have not. And they're still battling, four different lives, four different personalities, and they don't know which one is which. They're afraid to even bring up that they they used a crystal in their meditation because they're afraid that someone's going to say something or they might, like, now that we're in social media, they might lose followers. Who cares how many people don't like you, right? Like, but I think that is another root cause to a lot of illnesses, right? Because we're afraid of that lack of love.
mm, so true. And I believe it's tribal because it's like survival of the fittest that if I don't fit into the tribe, if I'm not doing what the tribe is doing, I'm gonna die. Like they're not gonna give me food or they're not gonna give me protection or shelter or whatever. And we have to recognize and realize that that just means that you're probably in a tribe that is not your tribe.
That's
Um,
right.
and that's why you're suffocating is because you're not being authentic. And you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You're having these desires and these thoughts and these visions for a reason. And so it's very important for us to remember who we really are at our core and to live that authentically.
1000%. And I think that's the beauty now of being able to share that because I think people need more and more people need this reassurance. They
Mhm.
need to hear this. I mean, I don't, I feel like if I try to stuff anything else in my body, energetically or spiritually, like I might pop, after all of these years of suppression.
Mm.
And so just talking to you about all of this, like I've been feeling my lymphatic system heavy for the last couple of months. And just having this conversation with you right now, like I'm literally feeling like my lymphatic system is draining in my face. Like I was just like looking at my face right now. I was like, wow, I feel like I lost like water in my face just having this conversation because, you know, we all are made with so many stories and experiences. That's what makes us all beautiful.
Mm,
But the problem is that we're all facing is how do we own them and how do we heal from them without making them our identity,
hmm
and finding that true identity because it's always easier to hide behind certain identities, and like I'll just use myself as an example is that I was like when I was in my healing journey it was like I would much rather hide behind the girl with the carnivore story rather than the girl with the medium story.
Ah,
So I've spent most of my interviews just talking about my carnivore journey,
same.
and you know I'm just now starting to feel more confident. And it's funny because it's like, well, Angela, this is like carnivore has been 5 years. Your gift as a medium has been like your entire life. you know, you've had a practice for 10 years. It's not like you just started a year ago. Like I've been collecting data about these experiences, been working alongside some of the most amazing doctors, having these experiences where they believe me. They're not in the carnivore space, but at least they're in the medical space, and then now being in the carnivore space, I have support from a lot of the doctors in the carnivore space that do understand this work and let me share this practice, my practice and what I do. But you know, it's really a blend of understanding like that the more we allow ourselves to shine in the light that we were meant to shine in, we are just holding the torch for
hmm
other people who are not ready to shine. We're holding that torch, like giving each other permission. We are allowed to shine in more than one light.
Yeah, and I believe that that's the mantle that is upon us. Um, because Angela, if you and I are having this much difficulty speaking our truth and walking in our authenticity, can you imagine how many other people are sitting there under this weight of chronic illness and mental illness and everything, terrified to speak their truth?
That's right.
So we have to do it first so that we can show them that it's safe, that it's
That's
safe to heal.
1,000%. It's so true. These warriors out there have had to be so strong
Mm,
for, be so strong for their family, for themselves. And they're carrying this weight of the world on their
hmm
shoulders
hmm
that's causing them physical pain
mm,
and manifesting itself. And I see this over and over and over again.
hmm
It's not like, oh, I've only seen this once or twice. Like, no, trauma impacts our nervous system. If our nervous system is dysregulated, so is our immune system.
hmm
So like we need to stop treating all of these symptoms,
mm.
start treating our immune system and our nervous system. And the best way we can do that is remove the things that are making us sick, like the toxicity, rebalance our energy, get a proper human diet where we're eating the foods that are going to help us heal because food is medicine,
hmm
and start processing the emotions
Mm,
and start living our truth.
mm,
I mean, like it sounds so simple, but truly that's the foundation. We've got to set the foundation of healing by addressing our health in more than just, oh, I'm going to take a pill.
mhm,
Oh, I'm just going to, you know, meditate. Oh, I'm just going to exercise. I'm just going to go to bed early. Well, yeah, all of those things are important.
mhm,
You got to do them all together, though. You can't just go to bed early every day, or you can't just meditate. It's just like you have to put it all into perspective of what does that look like. But at the end of the day, what story inside of you do you want to create? Maybe you don't know that yet. For me, I had to sit with a vision board. I had to create a vision board. And I put everything that I wanted in my new story on a board.
mm.
And then I prayed about it. I like because I didn't know what I wanted, and I created that. I created that story, and I have achieved my new story
Mm.
in so many ways. My main story was I'm going to go to Europe, and I'm going to travel by myself for 3 months in Europe, and this was while I couldn't walk. And I'm like, I'm going to go by myself and backpack when I get better. And 3 days ago, we're I'm filling out my like creating, getting my final, what do you call that? Like when you're putting your final
Itinerary?
department. Yeah, well, I
Oh,
thought I was gonna die. So I was like, just getting everything in order of like, well, what do I want like to do it when I die?
oh, your will.
Yeah, yeah, like putting a will together, just getting my affairs in order. That's what I was. That's the word. Getting my affairs in order and just, trying to focus on that. And at the same time, I'm like, I need a why. What's going to help me get better? Like create something so big for yourself
Mm,
that feels unattainable. That was what I had to do. And
mhm.
nobody in my family believed me. They were like, I don't can we backpack to the bathroom without you passing out before you start backpacking to Europe? But but I sat there, I prayed about it, I visualized it
Mm,
every day. I sat in bed because I didn't really have anywhere else to go, and I just closed my eyes and I visualized myself sitting in a cafe in Paris, going and eating steaks with friends in the UK and having, all of these experiences. I mean, I just wanted to believe in myself enough to heal, to get well, so I could do that. And last year I did it. And it was amazing because I had connected so much with the carnivore community. So I literally traveled Europe for 3 months, connecting with the whole carnivore community over there. So I traveled England for 5 weeks just visiting so many carnivores that I had met online, and I got to meet them in person, and some of them invited me to stay with them. And then I went to Spain on a carnivore retreat um, with Phil Escott, and got to meet so many incredible human beings that like in Spain. I mean, that was magical. And the longer I traveled, the more and more people that were so like-minded that I had to connect with. It. Like the whole 3 months ended up being a carnivore journey that I just didn't even expect.
and it
But
was such a holy trip.
it
It was
was,
such a holy trip. Like it really felt like a calling, like it was calling you home.
it was. And one of the places I got called to was Fatima in
Yeah.
Portugal. And which was wild because Fatima was the lady, like Lady Fatima or Mother Mary was who I prayed to for miracles every day when I was sick. I would lay in bed. When I would visualize myself in Europe, I was asking her for the miracle to get me well so that I could do it.
Mm,
And I would pray to her, and being a Catholic, that's who we pray for miracles. And so I remember going to Europe and I spent every single day in church. Like
Mm,
I was obsessed with the cathedrals and the churches in Europe.
mm,
I mean, I thought it was going to be the museum. I was going to be a museum person. I went to a few, but I ended up just, especially Portugal, was like the most incredible, the oldest churches that I've ever seen were in Portugal. And
mm.
I just like died a little bit, just like every place I went. But
Yeah, you were like bawling.
yes, I eventually when I went to Portugal, I couldn't understand because one of the ways that I traveled was that I didn't know where I was going for the most part. I knew I had like I started in Scotland and I just asked God to lead me to where I needed to be. And I initially went with the idea that I was going to go to Scotland, then Ireland and England. That was it. It was my first time to Europe, so I wanted to just stick with the English speaking countries. And within 5 weeks of being in Scotland, I booked a flight to southern Spain for that carnivore retreat, which then opened Pandora's box and took me wherever I wanted to go. But I didn't know where I was going until I showed up at the airport or the train station and I would just say, okay, well, where am I going? And I whatever I heard or received spiritually, that's where I went. And I couldn't understand why I kept hearing Portugal come up, come to Portugal, go to Portugal. So I went and I get to Porto and I'm like, what am I going to do here? I don't understand. Well, so I typed into Google and was like, what is so spiritual about Porto that I needed to, about Portugal that I needed to be here? And that's when I learned about I connected Fatima, Lady Fatima.
Mm.
And I realized that she was the person that I prayed to. I just didn't realize Fatima was in Portugal. I didn't the two things did not connect. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went and I had 5 days with her
Mm.
and I bawled my eyes out. And it was the most profound experience because I met two nuns who held me while I cried.
Mm.
And the funny thing was, I cried about was that I thought because even though I believed in who I was,
Mm.
the world around me did not. And I was told by so many people, or I hear it's not even like personally told, but like, I've seen some comments on YouTube and stuff, and I've been, listening. I listen to people that are very religious because I find myself very religious and spiritual.
Me too. Like my entire existence is based
Yes,
on that.
yes. It's like we didn't choose this. And
Nothing else
so,
matters. Like a new pair of shoes don't matter. My
right,
my connection to that spiritual experience is all that matters to me.
that's right. And to be held by these nuns while I'm bawling my eyes out and I'm telling them my experiences and my whole life of having this gift of being a medium, but I'm like, is it a curse? Was I just like a devil child? Am I a demon? Am I this? Am I that? And I mean, I was just losing my mind and the one nun, she was holding my hand and the other one was just hugging me and they both just looked at me and they said, "My child,
Mm,
God would never make a mistake.
mm.
And God wouldn't have brought you here if if you were working with demons." And she's like, "Look at the Pope." They use the Pope as an example.
That's hilarious.
And they said he receives messages from Mother Mary all the time. And they were telling me about the Pope, one of the popes, like I can't remember the entire story, but it was a message that he received from Mary, and it ultimately saved his life. I just
Hmm.
can't remember the story. They told me so many stories. I was there for 5 days. I spent the majority of my time with them, and I have to say that was the first time in my life that I felt accepted. Like, okay, and I don't mean by like my friends or my family, but to be accepted by a religious community, which I didn't even know that I needed, but I needed that reassurance because there are so many stories about this spirituality and disconnection from God when I've never felt closer to God during this experience. I've never
Mm,
felt closer to God when I was sick because I knew that God was doing this for me, not to me.
mm.
That God uses me as a vessel to learn so that I can experience this and teach others. And so going into that now in my life, I know that every experience, every setback, every flare up, every new symptom, I connect that with a new lesson,
Mm,
a new evolution, so that I can be better. Because what better way to help others than to go through it yourself? How can you be empathic and provide empathy and compassion for someone if you've never experienced it yourself, right? And you know this personally too.
I
So,
couldn't walk. So,
right,
and
you have,
I was mentally ill. So how could I sit there and go, oh, how does that make you feel? I know how that makes you feel when you
right,
can't walk and whenever you can't even trust your own mind.
that's right. And so when you can provide that for a client that you understand, you do understand, you've walked their pain, you're walking alongside of them with confidence that you know that they can heal. Because at the end of the day, we need more people out there that have gone through this, that have gone through their own suffering, because they are ultimately the lifeline for someone else,
Mm.
and something that I really like, people say sometimes, like, well, what are your credentials? And I'm like, I've experienced it. I've done everything on myself. I would never suggest anybody to do anything on themselves that I have not done on my own self.
Mm.
And I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose you. I'm not going to prescribe you stuff. I'm not here to tell you to stop taking your medicine. I'm here to walk alongside you, be your advocate, and coach you and teach you how to heal yourself. Because ultimately, you know,
And that's
we
what Jesus said. Jesus
that's
said, you're going to do this and so much more. We
right.
have that same ability to heal ourselves.
That's right. Right. Jesus was a healer, and he's healing us by being a part of us, by being a part of our journey. We still have to accept him. And I think that's the thing. It's like I'm not playing Jesus's role. I'm not teaching you to take I'm teaching you to give your power to Jesus and God and trust yourself again. Because that to me is where the disconnection comes from. That's when we are so disconnected. I don't know about you, but when I was really sick, I swore I was possessed by a demon. Like
Yeah.
that's truly when I was like, I can't even heal myself. I lost trust in myself because I was so disconnected.
The darkness, the
The darkness,
voices,
the voice, like
oh,
the dark night of the soul, it comes for a reason.
mm.
And I don't know how many more I'm gonna have, but that dark night of the soul that makes you go inward, like that's where we find our light, and
That's
that's
the
where
catalyst.
the catalyst that brings us back to ourselves so that we can heal ourselves, because that's what we all are. We are cells. We are cellular. And we need to reconnect to ourselves.
I had a client come to me and she was like, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and I'm at the pit. I'm at rock bottom. I can't take anymore. And I was like, awesome. Awesome, because this is your greatest gift. That crucible, that 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 refinement is exactly what is going to break open your biggest victory. And she was so mad at me in that moment. And you could just see she was just disgusted. And then as she continued to do the work, she was like, "Do you remember? It is the best thing that ever happened to me." And I was like, awesome. Like, I'm so glad. But I wouldn't change anything that happened. We actually had to reschedule this interview because I was so sick for 14 days. And I wouldn't change any of it because we wouldn't have had this conversation that we're having right now. And I know you can feel it, Angela, but I would dare say that there is a palpable frequency and a vibration in what we are saying right now. And that I believe that anyone who's going to be listening to this, that it is going to be a transmission that is going to activate and is going to bring forth the catalyzation of their healing for them to remember that they are whole, that there is nothing wrong with them, and that they get to authentically love themselves first. And then they get to take one step, and then they get to take another step, and they get to take another step, and that they're going to be able to walk in their healing from listening to the vibration of our voices in this story and this love that you and I have separately, but together we have multiplied.
That's so right. I believe that too. It's you, your words are always so beautiful, and I feel that so much. My hope that is that we start leaning more into surrender.
It's scary.
And, and we're so afraid to let go. We're so afraid to surrender because we all want to have some sort of control.
Mm,
And I mean, we see that every day, don't we, with how they're trying to control us by programming us with these stories of what we need to eat, what we need to do to ourselves. It's all control.
mm,
And to truly surrender and be free, nobody really knows what's on the other side of that, but we know what's on the other side of control. And that feels safe. But
it's a
that's actually
known enemy.
it's a known enemy. It's the familiar hell.
Yeah.
And when we can let go and surrender, that's terrifying because it brings up all of this vulnerability and shame and the stories that we're living in. And what more, what more freedom do we deserve? We deserve to be free. We deserve to let go of the stories. We deserve to let go of this control so that we can stop being controlled, not just by ourselves, but by other people. Because when we're free, we're dangerous. But
Absolutely. And I think it's such a distraction that we think that we're weak. It's such a facade.
yes,
And we're actually so free that we get to choose our own bondage.
that's right.
And so I choose to take off the shackles and to not have that bondage and to walk in all that I was designed for.
That's right. There are so many layers and of dimensions in this world.
Mm,
Like people think we're just living in this reality. No, there's so much. There's so much to experience. We are multidimensional beings, you know, and I want to experience all of those dimensions. I want to experience where I'm at physically, but I want to experience as much as I can spiritually. I
I
want
want
to
to
learn.
experience the things that I'm reading in the Bible. Like there's so many other layers to the Bible that I'm like, I don't just want to experience the 3D layer of the Bible. Like I want to experience all the dimensions that they talk about.
Yes.
The
Like,
angels with all the eyes.
yes, yes, yes. Like, I want to know more than just Jesus. Like, I want to know more about Mary Magdalene. I
Yeah.
want to know more about Mother Mary. So I've been like, okay, my next trip to Europe, I'm already looking up places where did Mary Magdalene live? I want to go visit there. I want to go to
I'm
where,
going with you.
yes, you are. Like I want to go and see where Mother Mary also spent time. They didn't just spend time in Jerusalem, they were so many places. So I want to go to those places. I want to experience not just what I'm reading, I want to experience it firsthand. And I think that's what this life is about. It's about staying curious
Mm,
and stop just, you know, believing everything that somebody tells you. Question it, experience it. Maybe it is your truth, but just because if it's your truth doesn't mean that it's somebody else's truth. And until they have a similar experience. And I think that's part of where it truly comes to healing is that in the Western medicine world, or in just a lot of medicine in general, it's like the truth in the matter is like, well, you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. And it's like they push the pills and they push this plant-based,
surgery.
they push the surgery, they push so much instead of saying, okay, well, let's combine all of the methods. Because I'm not saying that Western medicine doesn't have its place. I mean, if I got in a car accident and broke my arm, and when I was having anaphylactic reactions, thank God for Western medicine because they know what to do. But for people that are suffering day in and day out, you know, maybe you need some Western medicine as a crutch to heal, but it shouldn't be your end all be all. And we all deserve to have the freedom to think critically, to think outside the box, to find our own truth without being criticized or, I'll use it again, burned at the stake
Hmm.
for walking a path that worked so well for us and helping teaching people how to do the same.
Mm.
And I think that's why I love you so much, girl. Like, because we're both walking this path together. And even though what I love is like we both have had different journeys,
Yeah.
but ultimately it led us to the same place.
Mm.
And I'm just so happy that I'm no longer in this matrix where I'm being programmed to think and to feel and to believe and listen,
Mm.
to everything outside of me,
Mm.
that I'm now wise enough to say, no, I'm listening to me. And if I could get one thing across to anybody that I work with is that I'm not here to teach you you're not even like, I don't want you even to do not give your power away to me. Like, don't,
No.
you know, it's not about outsourcing your power. It's about healing is about taking your power back. And I say this, like I'm just the compass. You're the map. You're following the map. Follow that map. And I'll just tell you north, south, east, or west, because we all deserve to have our own journey. And when somebody is trying to tell you what to do that doesn't resonate with you, you should not have to do that if it doesn't feel good. But we stopped connecting with ourselves like that. We stopped that. I know I did for a very long time. And I just kept getting sicker because I just believed whatever I was told instead of saying, does that feel good for me?
Mm.
I wouldn't know because I wasn't connected. So it wasn't until I almost died that I realized that I needed to stop listening to everybody else and start listening to me. And I don't think there's anything more spiritual than that.
No, not at all. Well, I can't thank you enough for co-creating this moment and basking in your glow has just been incredible. So I thank you so much for that. And I think the defensiveness that comes out of me is that whenever I dig to the center of you, I all I get is holiness. And so I feel very confident that this interview has displayed the purity and the holiness and the love that is at the center of you.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry.
Good.
You're gonna
Cry.
make me cry.
But I want to show everybody how to get in touch with you because as much as I want to keep you all to myself, and as much as I want to just hoard all of your friendship and your energy, people can literally, and this baffles me. This absolutely baffles me. You guys can book a free 15-minute discovery call with Angela. Like that right there blew me away whenever I saw this on your website. But go ahead and tell them what a discovery call is like with you.
So basically, I just take a little of a bit of an intake of what you're going through on your healing journey. If you have had any, what your symptoms are, how I can help you, what your health goals are, what your intentions are, and we discover if we are a good fit to work with one another. Because your health and wellness are my ultimate priority. And I do know that there are sometimes clients, like I don't claim to be able to help everybody. So, but I do know that I've helped a fair share of very, very sick people that have a lot of mysterious illnesses
I'm
and
one
stuff.
of them. You've helped me.
Yes. And so I want to make sure that for me, it's a lot of it is energy. I want to make sure that our energies connect and that you are willing to do the work because healing takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And it's not just showing up for your appointments, it's showing up for yourself on a daily basis. So as long as you can commit that to yourself, and then we can work together. But it's very important to me about your level of commitment to healing. It's it's a very, it's a very intricate thing and want to make sure that we are on the same page when it comes to what you expect from me and what I can expect from you.
Absolutely, because it requires both sides of the equation.
That's right.
And if somebody is arguing for their limitations and arguing to keep hold on to their illness, if their illness is serving them in some way and they're not ready to be healed, then we can't help them.
Right. That 1000%. And then it's a very important conversation and it sounds so light. Like, are you ready to heal? And I have people all the time who say, yeah, I'm ready to heal. And then we are working 3 sessions in and I'm like, you're not ready.
No, no. So meatbasedmedium.com, and there is so much more information, even that is offered here. You just over deliver on all of this. It is absolutely amazing. Even the frequently asked questions, and then everything. And this website is just so beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. My friend Emmeline, which I believe you know her, you met her at Meatstock. She created this website and she's incredible. Her contact information, if you are looking for a website, is at the bottom. Um, yeah,
Right here.
yeah. She
Awesome.
she's beautiful inside and out. Her and she's so talented. I'm so pleased with the way this website came out. She did it, and but yes, I also have if you scroll up again, I just wanted to touch base about the VIP days.
Oh, um, did I miss it?
Oh, it's just down
Sorry, I
right
went
on.
too fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
VIP days. So it's something that I've been doing more of. If you are struggling, kind of going through the thick of it and are living in Los Angeles, or if you are in a place where I am, I've been incorporating more of these where I will either come to you or you can come to me, and I will basically do like a customized one-on-one retreat for you, right up
that's
front.
amazing. That is such a valuable, valuable tool because I know being in your physical energy, it's healing. It's literally healing to just soak in your energy.
Well, I mean, right back at you, love. But you know what? The funny thing is that because one of the things that I specialize in is histamine intolerance and mast cell. And so a lot of women, especially, don't understand how to cook meat. And so I get a lot of people being like, I'm afraid to cook. I don't know how to cook this. How am I going to cook this without having a histamine reaction? So I started teaching my clients in person how to cook their meat. And I'm trying to do more of it on YouTube and on TikTok and Instagram so I can show you all how to make steaks. But it can feel overwhelming. And so people that are in the thick of it, I wanted to start offering something a little more connected that where, like I said, if they're in LA, they can come to me, or if they have friends, we can like I'll create like a retreat, and we will incorporate the healing energy of Reiki, the the food, and also work through some trauma. So it's like more of like a spiritual healing day or weekend, depending on what you need.
Well, and also the meat-based medium, because there's so many insights that you get
Yes.
based on that person, and it really is a co-creation because you're tapping into that intuition.
Yeah, and it's super personalized. I've already had like a few of these, and it's just been they're very magical and makes me even feel more connected to my clients. It's wonderful.
I love it. I love it. And then on YouTube, you can just search at meat-based medium, and then it's Angela Lerro. And you are, this is such a misnomer for you to have 47 subscribers because if you just go to YouTube and just search Angela Lerro, there is just like a flood of interviews that other people have interviewed you.
Thank you. I am starting my channel finally this year, so there will be a lot more videos. I just haven't created the channel just yet. I'm still finding my way and how I'm going to create that. But there will be lots of interviews, and it will be generally around mind, body, spirit, and helping people heal from chronic illness and beyond.
I love it. And then we've got your Instagram where you're always posting these fun little snippets and videos. And of course, your trips to the many meetups that you've been a part of. And then showing people how to cook steak.
Yes, yes, that's one of my favorites. I'm really leaning more into that because before I got really sick, I was really big into recipe creating. and I would cook for my clients and I would go to their homes or they would hire me for parties and it was such a big part of my journey. And this is why having these VIP days with Carnivore has become such a passion for me. It's something that I've already was doing before, but just in a different light.
I
So
love it. And then if people click on your link tree, there's, some more of these interviews. There's also this article from the Daily Mail. There's like Anthony Chafee, Dr. Phil Oveda, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Kiltz, and of course, Billy Joe Meats.
yes, with my discount link. Lots of other products that I absolutely love. And, I want to always make sure that I'm giving people the best discounts on my favorite things that have helped me tremendously throughout my healing journey.
And you had part in helping write this book, Heal Holistic Practices to Help Clear Your Trauma, Heal Yourself, and Live Your Best Life.
I
Um,
did. Dr. Randall Hansen um, asked me to write 2 chapters in this book. And it was such an honor to get to contribute to such a beautiful book. This book is incredible. And it wasn't just me, but it was a few other people who have been on the other side of that have gotten themselves through chronic illnesses and trauma and our stories, but also how we used non-conventional and alternative medicine to heal and how because I'm also a practitioner, he gave me an extra chapter so that I could also share about how I work and basically what we talked about today. But this book is it's a perfect manual if you're going through something, if you are needing to heal yourself from something, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. It's just, it's a truly beautiful book that helps us reconnect to ourselves.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. And then if they want to find you on Facebook, you are a little incognito because you are Angela Christine.
Yes, I'm Angela Christine. And then if you also are struggling with histamine intolerance, I do have a Facebook group. You can type in histamine intolerant carnivore. Yep, histamine
Oh,
intolerant carnivore. Yeah, so that's my group.
awesome. Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
I always forget about it.
No, that's
So funny.
amazing.
I like always say I'm going to talk about it. So this is just a free support group on Facebook. If you're struggling with any type of histamine intolerance, you can please just join it for free. And that group pretty much runs itself. There's so much support on there. We have a list of files of non-aged meats around the world. From places I should say that I have vetted. And I'm grateful to have this group. Unfortunately, the person that created this group, I encouraged her to start this group. She suffered severely from Lyme and mast cells, and she unfortunately, the day before she passed away, she asked me to take this group on, and she gave this group to me.
Oh.
So it was kind of an inheritance. I didn't create it, but I told her to create it. And so I am living her legacy by taking care of this beautiful group that
Oh.
she created.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love it. And then you branched out into TikTok. I love it. And TikTok's a whole nother world.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I'm loving TikTok.
it's fun. It really is fun. And so, of course, you've got some great posts about eating meat and fat and all of your travels.
Yes, I've been posting more on TikTok lately. It's just because I feel like it's not as controlled, I guess you could say. But I'm trying.
Yes, yes, I love it. And I love you.
I love
Um,
you.
Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. It's so fun, and I don't know about you, but this I needed this. Like that, I think this conversation was very healing for me.
Oh my gosh, so healing for me. I feel so blessed that we could have this conversation, especially I think because both of us have been going through so much transitioning and transforming and putting ourselves out there in a new light and redirecting. We're basically we're changing the story of who we were to embracing who we are.
Mm,
Because I mean, we've always been this, but we've been so good at being recognized for something else. But it's time now to be recognized for the person and the people, the women that we are, the healers that we are, so that we
mm.
can continuing so we can continue to do our mission, which is to help people thrive. Because we're no longer surviving, we're thriving, and we want to help the world do the same.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Angela Lero, meat-based medium. Thank you for your service to humanity. And the best is yet to come. I can't just wait to see what we do in the next year.
Oh, girl, we're going to be popping off the next year. I can't wait. And I'm just so honored. Emily Penton, thank you so, so much for everything that you have done for me, for this community, and for this entire world. We all need your light, and you shine so beautifully, so bright. So thank you for just being you and
It,
allowing me to see you.
it's my honor and my privilege.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.